Welcome to the Deep Dive. Grab your intellectual hard hats because today we're cracking open a single source. It's a really detailed account of WWE Friday Night SmackDown from May 30th, 2025, show number 1349.
That's right. And our source paints a picture of pretty crucial night. This particular SmackDown, it was held at the Thompson Bowling Arena in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Right.
And it was the final stop before the Money in the Bank Premium Live event. So, yeah, the focus was definitely on finalizing who was going to be in those big ladder matches.
Right, setting the stage for Money in the Bank. And our mission here, sticking strictly to the material you've given us, is to dig into this one source. We want to pull out the absolute essential developments. We want you to understand what happened, why it mattered heading into that PLE, and maybe even see what the source hints at down the line. Could be WrestleMania 41 connections mentioned.
Possibly, yeah. The source does mention that. So let's jump in.
Okay, so coming up on Money in the Bank, our source material immediately tells us the big focus, like you said, was those final qualifying matches.
Exactly. The source actually lists the competitors who were already locked in. For the men's match, you had Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, and Seth Rollins. They were in.
Okay.
And for the women, it was Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, and Julia. They had already punched their tickets.
So a lot of spots still open then, going into this show.
Absolutely. Everyone else showing up that night was basically fighting for one of the last chances to get into those ladder matches.
But the source also notes there was like anticipation for more than just the qualifiers, right?
Yeah, right at the top, it highlights some major returns and appearances planned. Bianca Belair was coming back to SmackDown. And then you had Cody Rhodes and the undisputed WWE champion John Cena showing up. This was after Cody's TV return just a few nights before at Saturday night's main event.
So big names involved even before the matches started. All right, so this SmackDown kicks off. Our source describes it starting with a recap of that Saturday night's main event, then showing arrivals, Cody Rhodes, and then Bianca Belair, and she's making her return in her hometown, Knoxville.
Yeah, the source really emphasizes that. Bianca's return, it was pretty emotional. She went straight to the ring, had this really heartfelt moment hugging her family in the front row.
Oh, wow.
Then she grabbed a mic just expressing how happy she was to be back home, back in WWE, you know?
Nice homecoming moment.
Yeah.
But then, here's where the source details things ramping up. Naomi interrupts.
Right, but it wasn't just a standard interruption. According to the source, Naomi reveals she actually went to Belair's parents' house.
What?
Because apparently Bianca was avoiding her. And since no one was home, Naomi just let herself in and started looking through photo albums.
Whoa. Okay, that's definitely a choice, crossing a line there.
It absolutely is. And the source makes it clear Belair's reaction was, well, strong, furious, understandably.
I bet.
She told Naomi that Jade Cargill's recent attacks were just a preview of what was coming. Yeah. And then, right on cue, Cargill herself appears, walks right past Belair, throws Naomi out of the ring, exchanges this intense look with Belair, but then focuses back on Naomi. Nia Jax joins the fray, too.
Oh, so that sets it up.
Exactly. And suddenly, as the source puts it, all the participants for the first women's Money in the Bank qualifier triple threat were right there in the ring.
In that intense opener, Naomi, Nia Jax, Jade Cargill, the source tells us Naomi got the win.
She did, via pinfall. Used a crucifix roll-up, apparently after about 15 minutes and 20 seconds. So Naomi grabs that spot in the women's Money in the Bank match.
Okay, let's shift backstage. Our source gives us a look into the Bloodline's world. We see R-Truth, JC Mateo, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu. And they run into R-Truth, who's talking to little Johnny, his invisible friend.
Of course.
And the detail the source captures is Truth doesn't recognize JC Mateo. Asks if he's Solo's son.
Yeah, classic R-Truth, just as the source reports it.
Yeah.
And he adds he'd like to teach Solo's, quote, stocky son a few things in the ring.
Oh, man. But what about Jacob Fatu in all this?
Well, this is interesting. The source highlights Fatu's reaction, or maybe lack thereof. He seemed kind of dismissive of Truth, wished Mateo and Sikoa well, but then specifically states he had his own affairs to handle.
It's a little separation there.
Yeah, the source seems to be pointing that out, like a little hint of maybe not everyone being on the same page right from the get-go in that segment.
Interesting. Okay. Soon after that, Chelsea Green shows up outside Nick Aldis's office. She's got a face mask on.
Yep. And accompanied by her secret Hervis, as the source calls it. She is demanding Zelina Vega be suspended and wants her women's U.S. title back.
Right. And the outcome of that, according to the source.
Aldis didn't give her the title back, but he did make a match, the champ, Zelina Vega, against Alba Fire instead.
Gotcha. And the backstage scene for the women's MITB gets even busier.
It does. Tiffany Stratton is shown, talking about being ready for whoever wins MITB.
Yeah.
Then Naomi, fresh off her win, confronts Tiffany. And the source notes Naomi specifically warns Tiffany, like, I haven't forgotten our history, and says she's going to win the contract and come for Tiffany's title.
Adding layers.
Exactly. And then Alexa Bliss pops up too, tells Tiffany not to worry about Naomi, but to worry about her winning the briefcase. So the source uses these interactions to show just how personal that whole MITB situation is becoming for the women.
Meanwhile, the commentators, Joe Tessador and Wade Barrett, they had some news too.
They did, according to the source, announced an NXT North American Championship four-way match for that upcoming WWE and AAA Worlds Collide special.
Oh, yeah. Who's in that?
Ethan Page defending against Javon Evans, Laredo Kid, and Rey Fenix. And they specifically mentioned that Evans and Phoenix would actually be teaming up later that night on SmackDown, setting the stage.
All right, back to the ring action. JC Mateo versus R-Truth.
Yeah, this one was quick. The source describes it as very fast. Mateo hits the Tour of the Islands, gets the pin, just 2 minutes, 20 seconds.
Wow, decisive.
But the really significant part, according to the source, happened after the match. Mateo and Sikoa started to attack Truth again.
Oh.
And that's what brought out Jimmy Uso for the save.
Ah, okay. The brotherly conflict continues.
Exactly. And the source specifically notes a big stare down between Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso before they both eventually left the ring.
Yeah.
It's highlighted as this clear visual, of that bloodline tension we saw hinted at earlier.
Makes sense. The source also mentions a quick moment with Cody and Brandy Rhodes.
Yeah, just a brief detail. They were in the American Wheatley vodka bus, apparently talking about Cody's comeback at WrestleMania 38, linking it to his podcast as a preview. Just a quick aside.
Got it. Then the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, they came out.
They did. The source says they issued an open challenge, basically saying everyone's gunning for their titles, so come and get it.
And did people answer?
Oh, yeah. It led to this rapid-fire series of interruptions. First, Fraxium wanting a rematch. Then the Motor City Machine Guns show up.
Okay.
And then DIY comes out. They apparently tried to call for a moment of silence, which seems odd in that context.
A moment of silence that probably didn't last long.
Not at all. The source describes it vividly. Lights go out. When they come back up, Wyatt 6.
Oh, boy.
Total chaos. They just attacked and dismantled everyone. Street Profits, Fraxium, MCMG, DIY, everyone in and around the ring. Really disruptive, as the source puts it.
Wow. Okay, so after that, we get another match.
We do. And for this one, the source notes NXT North American champion Ethan Page joined the commentary team.
Ah, the guy involved in that Worlds Collide match announcement.
Exactly. And his presence turned out to be pretty influential. The match was Los Garza Angel and Berto, with Santos Escobar versus Rey Fenix and Javon Evans.
The two guys Page is facing in the four-way?
Well, 2 of the 3 challengers, yeah. And Los Garza got the win here, pinning Evans after some tag team action. Match went about 12 minutes.
Okay, standard tag match.
Mostly, but here's the key thing the source calls out. Ethan Page, from commentary, interfered multiple times against Phoenix and Evans.
Really? From the desk?
Yeah. So it suggests Page is taking a very active role, possibly an underhanded one, in dealing with his upcoming title challengers.
All right, moving on. We saw a championship defense next, based on our source, WWE Women's United States Champion, Zelina Vega.
Yep. Putting the title on the line against Alba Fire, who had Chelsea Green and Piper Niven with her.
And how did that go?
Zelina Vega retained. The source tells us she won via pinfall after hitting the code red. Match time was just over 11 minutes.
Good defense for Vega. What happened next backstage?
Some more tension brewing. The source describes The Miz trying to give Carmelo Hayes another one of his lectures.
Oh, the mentor-mentee dynamic.
Right. But Hayes interrupted Miz when he started talking about both of them winning Money in the Bank.
Ah.
The source notes Hayes basically asserted, I got here on my own, and declared it was time for Miz to let him show everyone why he is him.
Okay, so definite cracks showing in that alliance, as the source describes it.
Seems like it, yeah. And the women's title picture kept heating up, too. The source includes a quick video package from Julia, just stating she's unbeatable.
Setting the stage.
Exactly. And then, immediately after that, she's shown backstage confronting Zelina Vega directly, making her intentions about that U.S. championship crystal clear.
So Julia is positioned as an immediate threat to Vega.
That's exactly how the source presents it. Then we had Damian Priest come out. He was reflecting on his big cage match win over Drew McIntyre from Saturday night's main event.
Right, putting that feud behind him?
Yeah, the source quotes him saying he felt relieved after their, year-long conflict. But then he pivoted.
To a new target.
Yep. Priest explicitly stated his next target was Jacob Fatu.
Ooh, interesting.
He made a point, according to the source, of saying he respects Fatu the individual, but not the bloodline, and confidently said he'd be wearing gold again soon.
Okay, throwing down the gauntlet.
For sure. And the source adds this really notable detail. As Priest was leaving and Fatu was making his entrance for the main event, they actually crossed paths on the ramp.
Yeah.
And the source specifically mentions they exchanged a nod, just a nod of acknowledgement. That subtle interaction, highlighted by the source, adds this interesting layer to their potential conflict.
Which brings us nicely to the main event of the night. The other, men's Money in the Bank qualifier, triple threat. According to the source, this was Andrade versus Jacob Fatu versus Carmelo Hayes.
That's the one. And Hayes had The Miz in his corner for this.
And this was the longest match.
Yeah, the source documents it at 20 minutes and 20 seconds. And in the end, Andrade got the win. Pin Carmelo Hayes.
Okay, so Andrade is in MITB. But the source goes into detail about how that happened, right? And it involves the bloodline again.
Absolutely. This is where it gets really crucial, based on the source. Around the 11-minute mark, Jacob Fatu apparently charged the barricade, missed, and took himself out of the action for a bit.
Okay, momentarily out.
Right. Then, crucially, about 5 minutes before the finish, Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo show up at ringside.
Ah, here we go.
Yes. And the source explicitly ties the ending to their interference. Just before the pin, Solo Sikoa causes a distraction.
Which brings out
Jimmy Uso. He runs down, hits JC Mateo with a super kick.
chaos at ringside.
Total chaos. And the source directly states that this whole interruption allowed Andrade to capitalize on the confusion and hit his finish on Hayes for the win.
So bloodline interference directly costs Fatu and Hayes the match, essentially handing it to Andrade.
That's exactly how the source lays it out. This chain of events involving Solo, Mateo, and Jimmy is presented as highly significant.
And the aftermath? What was Fatu's reaction?
Visibly frustrated, according to the source, throwing things around ringside, Solo Sikoa actually came over like he was trying to help or calm him down, and Fatu emphatically rejected him. The source emphasizes this. Fatu basically told Sikoa he didn't need his help, pushed him away. Yeah, that post-match moment, as described, really just underscores that boiling internal conflict within the bloodline. Very public rejection right after a major loss caused, in part, by Solo's presence.
Okay, before wrapping up the show itself, our source also looks ahead. Mentions announcements for the upcoming Monday Night Raw.
It does. We learn the final 2 Money in the Bank qualifiers are set for Raw. For the men, it's CM Punk versus AJ Styles versus El Grande Americano.
Okay, big names there.
And for the women, Stephanie Vacker versus Liv Morgan versus Ivy Nile. The source also notes that CM Punk is scheduled to speak on that Raw show.
Always notable when Punk speaks. Any other announcements?
Yeah, more Worlds Collide matches were announced. And the source includes an interesting specific detail here. The Hijo del Vikingo versus Chad Gable match was not advertised as being for the AAA Mega Championship.
That's specific. Why note that?
The source just makes a point of mentioning it, suggests maybe there's a specific context for that match, or it's not a title defense for some reason, just a detail the source highlighted.
Got it. And then we reach the final segment of SmackDown, detailed in our source, Cody Rhodes' entrance and promo.
Right. Huge reaction for him in his hometown, as the source notes.
And his promo. What was the focus?
As described, he talked about his loss to John Cena at WrestleMania 41, mentioned talking to a friend, wondering if he'd been a good champion, reflected on The Rock's offer.
Okay.
But ultimately stated his current focus is just on making John Cena's life, quote, hell.
Setting his sights clearly. Did he have his prize?
He did. He announced a surprise for Knoxville, according to the source. WWE World Heavyweight Champion Jey Uso.
His tag partner.
Exactly. The source confirms Jey is the guy Cody will tag with at Money in the Bank against John Cena and Logan Paul. Jey then came out through the crowd, also got a massive reaction.
And then Cena had to respond.
Of course. Undisputed WWE Champion John Cena interrupted. The source says he immediately called Cody and Jey wannabe John Cena's. Claimed he was the only one who truly embodied hustle, loyalty, and respect, and had the followers to prove it.
Strong words. Did he bring out his partner?
He did. Called out and hyped up his tag team partner, Logan Paul.
And Logan Paul had something to say, too.
Oh, yeah. Took the mic, delivered some trash talk, according to the source. Complained he was cheated at Saturday night's main event, called Cena the last true champion. but then declared himself the unavoidable future.
Classic Logan Paul. Did it get physical?
It did, quickly escalated. The source describes first a physical misunderstanding just between Cena and Logan Paul.
Interesting.
Followed by Cena then initiating an attack on Cody and Jay.
Okay, so the brawl was on. How did it end?
The source tells us the brawl went in favor of Cody and Jay. They managed to fight off Cena and Paul, forcing them out of the ring.
So Cody and Jay stood tall.
Yep. The show ended, according to the source's description, with the two teams just staring each other down across the ring, setting the stage for their tag match.
So let's unpack this. What does all this tell us, based purely on the source material we've gone through? We saw this SmackDown episode pretty effectively finalize almost all the Money in the Bank participants. Naomi and Andrade got in via those key qualifier wins.
Right. And major players like Bianca Belair, Cody Rhodes, John Cena, they all made significant appearances that immediately impacted storylines. Big returns, big confrontations.
Championship pictures were also clarified, right?
Yeah.
Zelina Vega defended her U.S. title.
But was immediately confronted by Julia, setting up a future challenger. And maybe most significantly, the source repeatedly, consistently highlighted that escalating internal conflict within the bloodline.
Yeah, that seemed to be a major threat.
Absolutely. Culminating in that main event interference and Jacob Fatu's very public, very forceful rejection of Solo Sikoa's help right after that crucial loss. This single source gives us a really clear snapshot of division within that group.
Okay, so hopefully this deep dive, guided only by the details in your source material, gives you a really clear picture of the crucial developments on SmackDown, #They're349, and hopefully sets you up perfectly for understanding the landscape heading into Money in the Bank.
Exactly. And based just on the source material we've explored tonight, here's maybe a thought for you to consider. Given how the source describes that repeated interference and conflict involving Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Jacob Fatu all through the show, especially Fatu's really strong rejection of Sikoa after the main event, what does this singular account truly tell you about the actual state and maybe the potential future of the Bloodline faction described in our sources? Something to think about.
Thanks for diving deep with us.